I was setting the table for dinner when the phone rang. The sound was ordinary, yet my heart skipped as if it already knew that call would change everything. "Mum," my daughter's voice trembled on the other end. "Someone just mentioned a name from your past." "Who is Daniel Wolfe?" The fork slipped from my hand, crashing onto the floor. For years I had buried that name, convinced it would stay safely hidden in the shadows of memory. My family believes I'm the calm within every storm, the woman who holds everyone together. They don't know what it costs to keep that mask steady, how heavy the weight of memories can be when one truth presses against the heart like a locked door begging to open. Some secrets protect, others slowly poison the love we fight to preserve. I used to tell myself silence was kindness, and if I carried the weight alone, they'd never have to face the truth that could destroy them. But truth has a way of bleeding through the smallest cracks an old photograph left out. A trembling voice saying the wrong name, a question asked too innocently. That night, as my husband laughed in the kitchen and my daughter helped her little brother with homework, I caught myself wondering how many families collapse not from betrayal or tragedy, but from the secrets meant to keep them safe. They see my smile, my perfect posture at the dinner table, never the panic beneath. If they knew what I did all those years ago, would they still see a mother or a stranger? The phone kept buzzing in my hand, its light flashing like a heartbeat in the dark. I almost answered, almost confessed right then. But fear, stronger than love, sealed my lips again. And while the world around me seemed unchanged, I could already feel the truth rising from the past, pacing just beyond the threshold, waiting for the moment I'd have no choice but to face it. Before I tell you what happened next, take a breath with me. Stories like this are never just words on a screen. They're reflections of choices, of truths we've all tried to hide at least once. If, while listening, you felt that same tight knot in your chest, that fear of losing the ones you love by being honest, then you already understand the weight behind this story. So, if it touched something inside you, show it a little love leave you're like right now. That simple gesture tells me that these memories matter, that sharing them helps someone out there feel less alone in their silence. And if you've ever carried a secret too heavy to share, tell me in the comments below. You don't need to explain everything, just say, "Yes, I felt this weight. So I know you're walking this path with me." And, if you're new here, subscribe to The Weight of Memories. This space was created for the truths, lies and redemption stories that shape us. Every click, every comment, every heart you leave helps keep these stories alive, reminding us that truth may hurt, but it also heals. Now, keep watching, because that night, the night the past came knocking, I discovered that some truths don't just change your family. They test everything you believe about love itself. That night after the call, nothing felt the same. My family's laughter filled the house, but it sounded distant, as if it belonged to another world where I no longer fit. I sat at the table, fingers trembling against the white linen, trying to hide the fear the name Daniel Wolfe had awakened. Every gesture, every smile around me seemed fragile, like porcelain ready to shatter under the weight of memories. It's strange how the truth can change the air before it's even spoken, how it makes every breath heavier, how it turns the people we love into mirrors we're afraid to look into. My daughter caught my eyes for a second, and I wondered if she could somehow feel the secret pulsing inside me. There was so much love in that room, and yet an even greater fear of losing it. I wanted to freeze that moment, guard it inside a glass jar, pretend our peace wasn't built on silence. But the past never really dies. It lingers, waiting for the truth to be born, and when it finally comes, nothing can stop it. If you've ever carried a secret just to protect the ones you love, type one word in the comments. Truth. so I'll know I'm not alone in this wait between love and guilt. Morning came, but it brought no peace. The sunlight poured through the curtains like an unwanted guest, exposing everything I wanted to keep hidden. My husband hummed while brewing coffee, completely unaware that the woman sitting across from him was falling apart behind a calm smile. I stirred my cup slowly, counting my breaths, wondering how long I could keep pretending. The truth hadn't been spoken yet, but it was already sitting at the table with us, invisible and loud. I listened to my son's laughter from the living room and felt a painful twist in my chest. How would he look at me if he ever learned what I'd done? People say time heals, that sometimes it only polishes the surface while guilt grows quietly beneath. I had survived years by locking the past away, convincing myself that silence was love, that some truths were too heavy to share. But secrets don't stay buried forever. They pulse like a heartbeat under the floor of your life, waiting for the right sound to shake everything. That morning, when Daniel's name slipped once more into my thoughts, I caught my reflection in the window and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked composed, maybe even peaceful, but her eyes told another story. Deep down, I knew the storm was coming, and this calm breakfast was its cruel disguise. That evening, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat alone in the dim light of the kitchen. The hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock were the only sounds keeping me company. My hands hovered over the phone, tempted to scroll through the old messages I'd never deleted. The ones that still had his name, Daniel Wolfe. Just reading it sent a shiver up my spine. He wasn't supposed to exist anymore, not in this life I'd built. But the truth doesn't vanish with distance. It follows like a shadow, whispering during the quiet hours when you think you're safe. I had told myself 1,000 times that what happened all those years ago wasn't my fault. I was young, desperate, clinging to love that wasn't mine to keep. One reckless choice set fire to everything I loved. And when the smoke cleared, silence seemed like the only way to survive. I buried the secret deep, married a good man, raised a family, and pretended the past was just another bad dream. But guilt ages differently. While everything else fades, it grows heavier. As I stared at the framed photos on the counter, birthdays, vacations, smiles that seemed so sincere, one thought refused to leave. Maybe my truth wasn't protecting them anymore. Maybe it was slowly killing what we had left. The sound of footsteps upstairs made me tense, instinctively hiding my phone as if my own memories were contraband. That's when I realized I wasn't afraid of losing my family because of the truth. I was afraid they'd see who I really was beneath it. Sleep didn't come that night. It hovered somewhere beyond reach, taunting me. Every creak in the floorboards felt like the past moving closer. Every sigh of wind through the curtains like Daniel whispering my name. Around 2 a.m., I found myself standing at the window, watching the lights of our quiet street flicker. For years, I'd stared out at this same view, believing I'd outrun the truth. But lies, I've learned, never stay still. They breathe, they grow, and eventually they find their way home. Downstairs, the kettle whistled softly as I poured tea with unsteady hands, tracing the edge of the cup the way I once traced the lines of his letters. Letters I said I'd burned but never did. Part of me wanted to confess, to surrender to whatever storm would follow. Another part begged for one more day of normal. When the stairs creaked again, I froze, waiting. My daughter appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, her small voice cutting through the heavy silence. "Mom, who's Daniel Wolfe?" The cup slipped from my hands, shattering across the floor. Her innocence pierced through every barrier I'd built. In that instant, I felt the weight of truth press against my chest, demanding to be heard. My secret was no longer mine to keep. It had chosen its own moment to surface, and this time, I could no longer hide. The world shrank to silence after she said his name. For a heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. Then the crash of the broken cup snapped me back. Shards glittering between us, like pieces of everything I'd just lost. My daughter's wide eyes searched my face, and in them, I saw the reflection of the truth I'd spent half a lifetime denying. I knelt to gather the fragments, pretending calm, but my voice betrayed me. "Where did you hear that name?" She hesitated, still sleepy, still innocent. "Dad was talking on the phone. He said Daniel Wolfe used to work with you." My stomach turned cold. Fate has a cruel sense of timing. It always brings the past home through the people we love most. I told her it was nothing, just a mistake, and kissed her forehead, hoping my smile sounded convincing. But when she went back upstairs, the silence screamed. My husband had never asked about Daniel, never needed to, or so I thought. My secret had started to seep through the cracks, and now it was only a matter of time before it reached him. In the faint light, I stared at the family photo on the wall, our smiles frozen in harmony, and for the first time I couldn't tell if it portrayed love or denial. The truth had awakened, and its footsteps echoed right outside our door. The next morning, the house felt colder, as if the night itself had lingered. I moved through the routine, breakfast, laughter, coffee, yet every sound carried an edge. My husband hummed while reading the paper, but I saw the flicker in his eyes when he glanced at me. Did he already know? Was Daniel's name still ringing in his mind the way it echoed in mine? The truth stood between us like a third presence at the table, unseen but felt in every breath. I poured more coffee than either of us could drink, hands trembling. Part of me wanted to confess, to rip the bandage off, to finally let the past breathe, but the words froze in my throat. How could I tell him that the life we built rested on a lie I told decades ago? That one choice, made out of fear and love, had shaped every day that followed. I looked at him across the table and saw not anger, not suspicion, but trust, and that hurt most. When he left for work, the silence pressed in again. I leaned against the counter, staring at our wedding photo pinned to the fridge. My smile in that picture was radiant, almost brave. I had promised him honesty, promised to never let secrets poison us. And yet, here I was, drowning beneath the weight of my own promise. If you've ever looked at someone you love and wondered how to tell them the one truth that could shatter everything, leave a single word below. Asterisk, asterisk, truth, asterisk, asterisk. Because sometimes speaking it out loud is the only way to set the heart free. By late afternoon, the sky had turned the color of ash, that quiet shade before a storm. I was sorting laundry when the doorbell rang. Through the frosted glass, I saw a man holding a thin envelope against his chest. "Mrs. Hughes?" he asked, his tone almost gentle. I was asked to deliver this personally. My pulse stumbled. No one had used my maiden name in years. The handwriting on the envelope stopped my breath. Daniel Wolfe. The paper trembled as I unfolded the letter. His words bled through decades, careful and apologetic. Asterisk, I never meant to leave you with all the blame. If they ever find out, tell them the truth. It was me. Asterisk. My knees gave way, and I sat on the stairs clutching it, the weight of memory colliding with the present. My husband's car pulled into the driveway, the familiar crunch of gravel suddenly unbearable. He walked in mid-sentence, smiling, until he saw the letter in my hands. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice sharp, eyes narrowing. The truth had found its way home on its own. I tried to speak, but air caught in my throat. He took the paper, scanning a few lines, and when his gaze lifted, something fragile between us had already broken. "How long?" he whispered, There was no point lying. The past had spoken louder than either of us could. I opened my mouth, but the words dissolved into the sound of rain against the window, each drop echoing everything I never said. That night, the house felt like someone else's. Every wall, every picture frame seemed to hold its breath. My husband hadn't spoken since reading Daniel's letter. He'd simply walked upstairs, leaving an emptiness loud enough to drown in. I sat on the couch, the letter beside me, reading it again and again as if the words might change. But truth is merciless. Once it's spoken, it never goes back to silence. I could hear the soft sound of drawers opening, suitcases moving. Panic rose like fire under my skin. I wanted to run to him, to explain how one mistake had begun with love but ended in fear. Instead, I stayed frozen, gripped by the weight of every lie I'd built into our marriage. The smell of rain drifted through the open window, mingling with the ache of goodbye. When I finally found the courage to climb the stairs, he was standing by the door with his coat in hand. His eyes weren't angry. They were wounded in a way I'd never seen. "You should have trusted me," he said, soft, almost kind. "We could have survived the truth together." And then, before I could speak, the front door closed behind him. The house fell into stillness. It was the kind of silence that didn't need darkness to feel endless. I sank near the banister, the letter slipping from my hand, my heart echoing one thought. I hid the truth to keep my family safe, and in doing so, I broke it myself. But the night wasn't over. The past had one more thing left to return. I don't remember falling asleep on the stairs, only the cold light of morning filtering through the doorway. The silence was still there, thick, punishing. I reached for the letter, crumpled and tear-stained, and tucked it into my pocket like proof that the past was real. The house felt too big without his footsteps, too still without his voice. Every room carried the weight of truth, not the shouted, explosive kind, but the kind that lingers after everything else is said. Around noon the knock came again, softer this time. When I opened the door, my daughter stood there clutching a small photograph. "Dad dropped me off at school early," she whispered. "I wanted to come home." She handed me the photo, a picture of me and Daniel long before her time. "You look happy," she said quietly. My heart bent at the edges of her words. Children's sense lies faster than we think. I told her the story as gently as I could, weaving love and mistake into one truth she could bear. She didn't cry, and that hurt more than tears. She simply nodded, then leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm glad you told me," she murmured. "It makes sense now why you always looked sad when it rained." I held her tighter, realizing maybe our family didn't need perfection. Maybe we just needed honesty. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled like something clean, something new. My husband hadn't come back, not yet, but for the first time, I felt I could face him without hiding. The truth had broken us, yes, but maybe it was also the only thing that could rebuild what love alone couldn't hold. Days turned into weeks, and the rhythm of our lives slowly shifted. The silence between us began to soften, replaced by cautious words and long looks that carried both hurt and understanding. One evening, I heard his car in the driveway, and for the first time didn't feel fear. When he came inside, there was exhaustion in his eyes, but also something gentler like a door opening a crack. We sat down at the same table where the truth had broken everything, and for a long time, neither of us spoke. Words weren't strong enough yet, but compassion, the quiet kind, had returned. He finally asked, "Do you still love me?" And my answer came without hesitation. Love had never left. It had simply been buried beneath the weight of guilt and silence. "Then let's try," he said softly, his hand finding mine across the table. In that touch, I felt the past finally release its hold. The truth had wounded us, yes, but pretending had almost destroyed us completely. Later that night, as our daughter slept upstairs, I stood by the window watching the first stars fade back into the sky. The memories were still there, etched into every corner of the house, but they no longer suffocated me. They breathed. I whispered to no one and to everyone. The truth didn't destroy my family. It rebuilt it with scars, but stronger than before. Still, a small part of me knew. Every truth carries another waiting behind it. Quiet, patient, ready for its time to rise. If you've stayed with me until this moment, it means something in this story touched a piece of your own truth. Maybe you've lived with a secret that felt too heavy. Maybe you've learned that love and honesty can break you and still be the only thing that heals. I want you to know that this place, asterisk, the weight of memories asterisk, exists for hearts like yours. People who feel deeply, who carry stories behind their smiles. So if this one stirred something inside you, subscribe now so you don't miss the next story that might speak straight to your soul. Leave a like on this video to help these truths reach others who need them. And write in the comments, asterisk asterisk I receive. Asterisk asterisk. 2 simple words that mean you're ready to let go of what hurts and make peace with your own past. And don't stop here, the next video is already on your screen. It's another story about love, mistake, and redemption. One that will remind you why every truth is worth facing. Watch it now, and keep walking with me through the weight of our memories.